it turns out the follow my face feature with this camera doesn't even work, so brilliant start. All that teasing that I did on the last video for the Mae Young Classic. Because yeah, I've been doing the wrestling content as well. If you're not into that, don't worry, here's your gaming stuff. So, an interesting thing cropped up over the last part of the week. So, it seems as if there's been an early build of South Park Fractured But Whole that's been out and circulating on the press to give them sort of, I guess, a warm-up for when the game actually comes out in October, because of course it's coming out in or around the same time as Assassin's Creed, as Wolfenstein, of a whole heap of others. I should probably actually get a list of the actual things to actually give you an accurate list. But yeah, it's coming out roughly in a month, I think. Just have a quick look. Fractured But Whole. Okay, why isn't it listed? There it is, October 17th. So, its competition, at least on that day, is WWE 2K18, Gran Turismo Sport, which is obviously PS4 exclusive, and Elex. But, looking at what's coming out between now and just the end of October, we've got Divinity Original Sin 2, which is going to be popular for the PC people. Pro Evo Soccer is coming out on Tuesday. Metroid on the 3DS, NHL and the Dishonored expansion, /DLC, /everything. Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, NBA 2K18, Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2 on the Switch. SteamWorld Dig 2, Guild Wars 2 expansion, Pokken Tournament DX, on the Switch, Project Cars 2, Lego Ninjago movie game, Raid World War 2 from the devs from the Payday stuff, Total War Warhammer 2, Cuphead, Star Fox 2 via the mini SNES, FIFA 18, Forza Motorsport 7, Hat in Time, Layton's Mystery Journey for the 3DS. Wow, they really haven't publicised that much. Middle-earth Shadow of War, Evil Within 2, the Definitive Edition of Age of Empires, Destiny 2 on PC, Just Dance, and then the big one, right at the end of October, Assassin's Creed Origin, Wolfenstein 2, and Super Mario Odyssey all on the same day. And within that week, in the first week of November, you've also got Call of Duty World War 2 and Sonic Forces and Need for Speed as well. And the LA Noire remaster that just got announced this week. And Lego Marvel Superheroes 2. And then when you get into mid-November, you've got Ultra Sun and Moon for the Pokemon stuff, Sims 4 on console, and Battlefront 2. So yeah, it's a bit of a clustered time. So, I mean, that is why South Park decided to, I guess, do basically a sort of early sort of introduction build. So, some interesting stuff came out, certainly highlighted by Eurogamer's stuff mostly, with Aoife Wilson and Chris Pratt, two of the reporters they've got there. So they were going through the character creation part of the game. There is two parts to their Let's Play so far. So, in the character creation, you get to choose the difficulty of the game. But interestingly, the easier the game is, the lighter and whiter you are. But the harder the difficulty, the darker your skin tone becomes. So basically, by default, if you want to play on a harder difficulty, you have to be playing as a coloured person. The tone obviously changes depending on your difficulty. Then interestingly, during this, Cartman has a comment of saying, don't worry, this doesn't affect combat, just every other aspect of your whole life. So, Eurogamer basically asked Ubisoft directly about this at the event that they got to sample this at. And what they were told was the difficulty of the game basically affects the amount of money that you receive and the way that other characters speak to you through the course of the game, which is obviously the very subtle commentary on the fact that there is still racism in modern society to this day. Which is it's a very interesting way to approach it. However, it also gets interesting as well when we get to a little bit later on, when your character has to choose their gender. So you have to choose between male, female, and other. Despite the fact that obviously in Stick of Truth you were locked into just being a boy. So of course, the Eurogamer guy decided to pick female. And Mr. McKay, okay, you know, calls the parents to reinforce the decision. And the interesting thing is, if you do pick a non-male character, the telephone conversation will pretty much retcon the Stick of Truth stuff. So basically, Mr. McKay over the line says, you know, the whole King and Stick of Truth thing, she was actually a girl the entire time. And then, interestingly after that, Mr. McKay asks you to clarify what you mean by girl. And then it goes into, are you cisgender or are you transgender? And again, to see what happens with it, they pick transgender, and McKay calls the parents up again and basically says, well, it still tracks for Stick of Truth, it does. She was definitely a girl the whole time. Yes, of course, I get it. So it's like, there's some interesting touches here that are being brought into this game, which probably will get either tried to be made into some sort of controversy thing, or, and this is the way that I'm seeing it personally anyway, rather, you know, if this is the reason why it was delayed, because we're getting juicy sort of topical subjects in this, that is a very interesting and very pleasing move, as I say, in my opinion. Yeah, bringing these topics out into obviously something where video games are always clamoring to be taken more seriously. The fact that they're bringing these issues in and trying to actually address them and make them aware to gamers makes me hope that this will be treated with respect by the majority of people. There will, of course, be a minority that will go, yeah, they'll just be, you know, they're making some sort of racism thing, like white people are not, you know, can't do difficult things or something, or, you know, it's unfair that I have to pay as a coloured person if I want my game to be harder. So it's like, either way, I think, you know, just like it was the last time with the cultural stuff and bringing in references and talking about it like it was in the first one, especially with the retcon scenes that were deemed inappropriate for Australia and Europe with the anal probing from the aliens. It's rather pleasing to see. So, I mean, it was one I was always interested in the first place, but having something like this that is not being covered a whole lot yet, because I guess people are still buried in Destiny, which seems to be getting good reviews at least. I think it's an interesting topic. I mean, feel free to give your thoughts down below on it. In fact, I'm just going to make sure I have the link to the article as well, so I can send it over to be put in the description. It talks about it and has the videos embedded on, so you can see it for yourself. So, yeah. That's the gaming stuff from me, it seems. Amazingly, it hasn't gone an hour. It's only gone about 10-12 minutes, because this outro will take a while. So next week, who knows? I'm sort of getting more confident into doing sort of spoken word reviews for some of the games that I've been playing, because with the new computer and everything, I've actually been going through some. And I want to highlight, certainly, there's one interesting game which I might bring up soonish, as a sequel is coming out to it. But it's and the other thing as well, although it's on PC, I've also played it on mobile, and it was also one of the big games that, or one of my standout games from EGX last year, because it's another thing where basically it's a talking point situation rather than anything, and the devs did very well with it. I'll probably talk about that soonish, at least when sort of around when the sequel comes out, because you know the first one may be cheaper then on some sort of deal. But even then, it's only, by the looks of it, very little money, like at least under 10, if not under $5. So I might be talking about that. That's a little tease. Of course, I've got EGX coming up. The big slew of announcements coming. Nintendo are actually going to be there this year, as are Xbox, after their sort of not bothering to show up last year deals. Sony as well, other stuff, events, things, something. Either way, there'll probably be something for me to cover anyway. On top of that, I've got all the wrestling stuff to do. Yeah, can you tell it's early in the morning for me? As in, I still haven't gone to bed. Wow. I'm saying that just as a really pounding headache comes in. That's ironic. No, actually, no, thinking about it, the more ironic thing is if I manage to drag out this intro, so this video, when it goes up on YouTube, will be roughly about 13:37. Late!